Today, we are going to learn about CORS, which stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing in API Gateway, how to enable CORS in our response, the options method, and how to test if CORS is working fine. This is a very important concept for API development, and it will be explained in a beginner-friendly way. So let's get started. I want to bring our attention to another very important concept called CORS. And this concept is important to know if you're going to be doing any sort of work with APIs. So what does CORS stand for? I'm glad I asked. Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. So it's a security feature implemented by web browsers to control how resources on a web page can be requested from another domain. It is designed to prevent malicious websites from accessing sensitive data from another domain without permission. So guys, what exactly is an API? It's basically like a wall blocking the normal clients from accessing all the resources on the other side. All that data, that logic, that functions, that all of the other resources on the other side, and it's very good from a security standpoint. Now CORS is implemented in most browsers in order to basically control who can and cannot go to the API and send a request and get some information. Because imagine if I had an API for hospital data, and it wouldn't be good if for some reason random people could just send requests to this API and get access to a bunch of all that sensitive data. So that's where CORS come in, where we can specify who can ask this API for stuff and get the information on the other side. So how does CORS work? There's the same origin policy. So if a request is being made from somebody who's already inside the domain, so then it will, so basically websites from different domains can by default do not have access to resources from another domain. So two different domains by default do not have access to each other's resources. Now there's certain header is just a piece of information that requests and responses send to each other, and within the header of a request, of a response, we can include a CORS header. So in this case, the big one to note is allow access control allow origin. So if this header specifies which origins are permitted to access the resource, so basically who can access the resource. And certain times, for certain types of requests, we can send a pre-flight request. So website 1 will ask website 2, hey, what do you get? What can I get access to? And website 2, this is called a pre-flight request, and website 2 will send a list of different sorts of things that we can access and different sorts of requests that it will respond to. And as you can see, for certain types of requests, the browser sends an options request. So an options request, guys, you're going to see this in the API gateway. Options request is just another type of method, similar to get, put, post, delete. Options is just another method to check if a request is allowed. So I'll just give you guys a quick example. So let's say if some website collects weather data and I want to use it in my website, that website needs CORS enabled for me to access it. So if CORS is enabled, the weather data provider server responds with the necessary CORS headers. Your browser checks the response headers, seeing the appropriate CORS header allows a request, and I'll be able to receive the weather data. If not, the browser will block the request due to the same origin policy, and I won't be able to access the weather data. So this is a little bit of a picture to quickly illustrate perhaps how that works if perhaps this is better for you visual learners. Next, let's see it in action. So we're going to continue off where we were last time with our API. So remember, we deployed it. We can specify somebody's name. We could say Ron, and the language they speak is, let's say, Italian. And oh wait, it's question mark. So you see what I mean? We deployed it, but now we're accessing this API within, it's our own domain. It follows the same origin policy that is able to access this API, is able to send the request to our function, access the logic, and get the response. But what if a completely different website wants to use our function? Let's see how that looks like. So there's this website called testcores.org. You can easily find it by just searching up testcores. And I'm going to just use this one, testcores.org. So we're going to send a GET request. We're going to take this. We're going to copy it and put it here. Now, if you see that nothing got loaded, and if we open our developer tools, you can see clearly the same origin policy disallows reading the remote resource. Reason CORS header access control allow origin is missing. So as you can see, this website cannot access this API, which would give access to the function logic to send the response back to this website. Now, how can we change this? Now, there's a couple of things we can do in our API gateway. So the easiest one is we can literally first go to our API. So the easiest thing we can do is just click enable CORS. So this will send the options method, and we can access control. We can enable it for our get method, and we can save it. Now I'm not going to do that. Another thing that we can do is also modify our header response. So I'll just show both of those ways. So we can all we need to do, so if we read carefully, we just need to add this header in our response. That's all we need to do in order to enable CORS. So I have this little piece of code. We can copy this. And if we were to redeploy this after we copy it, now it will work. So we enabled CORS, and just this star character always means all domains would be able to access this. So just for learning purposes, that's fine right now. So everyone can now access our API. So if we go to CORS again and we send request, as you can see now, we get served a response. So no error is coming. We get served a response. Now, if I take this away and I redeploy it, now if we try this again, error. So that's all for the video and learning about CORS today. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.